welcome to Sleepy Story Facts. This is your space tonight, a gentle, unhurried place where the noise of the day no longer has permission to follow you. Whatever you were carrying when you lay down this evening, you can set it all aside now, quietly and without effort, the way a leaf releases from a branch and drifts slowly down to rest on still water. You do not need to do anything right now. You do not need to think or plan or solve. All that is asked of you tonight is to simply listen and to breathe and to let yourself be carried. This is a bedtime story for the part of you that is tired in the deepest way. Not just the body, but the mind, the breath, the quiet place behind your eyes that has been working so hard and for so long. This is your gentle bedtime, and you are so very welcome here. If you are lying down, feel the surface beneath you now. Feel how it holds you completely without asking anything in return. Let your shoulders drop a little further. Let your jaw soften. Let your hands rest open and easy. Take one slow breath in through your nose. Hold it for just a moment at the top, and then release it out through your mouth in one long, quiet exhale, as if you are breathing out the last traces of the day. You do not have to force sleep tonight. Sleep will come on its own, the way the tide comes in, slowly, steadily, without announcement. All you need to do is stay here, in this calming narration, in this soft and slow-moving story, and let the words become the sound that carries you down. Tonight's relaxing story is unlike any you have heard before. It will not take you to a busy place, or a loud one, or a bright one. Instead, it will take you to one of the most silent and majestic places that has ever existed in the known universe. A place so vast, so still, and so profoundly ancient that even time itself moves differently there. We are going, very gently and very slowly, to the edge of a dormant black hole. Not the frightening, roaring kind you may have imagined, but something far older and far more peaceful. A black hole that has grown quiet over billions of years, resting at the center of a galaxy that has itself grown calm. Its stars spread wide, its gases cooled and thinned into the softest imaginable mist. This is the setting for your deep sleep story tonight. A place of absolute darkness that is somehow not frightening at all, but deeply, profoundly restful. The way the darkest hour of the night feels when you are warm and safe and held. We will approach it slowly over the course of this nighttime story. We will never rush. We will simply drift, the way light itself drifts at the outermost edges of gravity's long, slow reach. As you listen, you may find that certain facts about space and science float into your awareness like lanterns on a river, soft and glowing, passing gently without asking you to hold them. Some will stay with you, others will drift past and become part of the dream that is forming just beneath the surface of your thoughts. You do not need to remember anything tonight. You only need to rest and breathe and fall asleep to the quiet wonder of the universe. Let us begin. Somewhere so far from Earth that the light traveling from our sun would take more than 30 million years to arrive, there is a galaxy unlike the brilliant, active spirals you might picture when you think of outer space. This galaxy is old, extraordinarily, almost incomprehensibly old, and in its great age, it has grown quiet. Its stars no longer form in rushing clouds of gas the way young galaxies do. Instead, they drift wide apart from one another, scattered like the last embers of a fire that burned magnificently long ago, and is now settling slowly and without urgency into a deep and lasting peace. At the very center of this galaxy, there is a black hole. It is enormous by any measure a human mind could reach toward, millions of times more massive than the star at the center of our own solar system. And yet, it is dormant. It is not consuming. It is not roaring. It is simply resting in the way that only something ancient and immense can truly rest, with a stillness that feels less like absence and more like the deepest possible form of presence. This is where we are tonight. This is the setting of your sleep story. And as you breathe slowly in the dark of your room, you are already, in some quiet way, beginning to feel it. That vast, unhurried stillness, that gentle pull toward rest that comes not from force, but from the simple, patient gravity of something very, very deep. There is a region that exists at the very outermost edge of a galaxy, so far from its glowing center that even the word distant feels too small to carry the meaning. It is called the galactic halo, and it is one of the most serene environments that the universe has ever quietly produced. Here, stars do not cluster together in bright, busy arms the way they do closer to the heart of a galaxy. Instead, they are scattered so sparsely across such an incomprehensible span of space that the darkness between them is the dominant thing. Not the stars themselves, but the vast, soft, breathing emptiness that holds them. As you lie here in the gentle dark of your own room, breathing slowly and easily, letting this sleep story wrap around you like something warm and weightless. Imagine that you are drifting through this halo now, not falling, not moving with any urgency, but simply floating, the way dust floats in a beam of afternoon light, unhurried and completely without effort. You are moving through the outermost breadth of the galaxy, and everything around you is extraordinarily, beautifully still. One of the most deeply calming scientific facts you will ever encounter is this: the space between stars is not empty in the harsh or lonely sense of the word. It is filled with something called the interstellar medium, an incredibly thin, incredibly delicate mixture of gas and dust particles that drifts between every star in every galaxy across the entire observable universe. In this ancient, dormant galaxy you are drifting through tonight, that medium has cooled over billions of years into something almost unimaginably still. The particles that compose it are spread so far apart from one another that if you were to reach out your hand in any direction, you would feel nothing at all. And yet the medium is there, quiet and present, a faint cosmic mist that connects every point in the galaxy to every other, the way silence connects all the notes in a piece of music and gives them meaning. It is, in its own way, the universe's version of the feeling you are beginning to feel right now. That soft, gradual loosening of everything that is not rest. As you drift further inward through the halo at this impossibly slow and soothing pace, the gravity of the black hole at the center of the galaxy is already present, though you would not feel it yet as a pull. You would feel it if you could feel anything so subtle as a kind of orientation, a very faint sense of direction, the gentlest possible lean, the way a river knows the sea long before it arrives there. Gravity at these enormous distances does not grab or rush. It simply inclines. It simply suggests. And the entire galaxy, every star in the halo, every thread of cool gas, every ancient planet orbiting some faint and distant sun, is participating in this slow, long, quiet inclination toward the center where the black hole waits in its deep and undisturbed stillness. The science of gravity at these scales is one of the most relaxing ideas that physics has ever offered to a wondering mind. At distances of tens of thousands of light years, gravity does not feel like force at all. It feels like patience. It operates across time spans so vast that the word slow cannot quite contain them. Not slow the way a sleepy afternoon is slow, but slow the way geological ages are slow, the way the drift of continents is slow, the way the cooling of a star across billions of years is slow. Everything in this part of the galaxy is moving, technically, but it is moving so gradually and so smoothly that the overall impression, if you could somehow hover here and simply observe, would be one of profound, settled, absolute peace. And that is where you are now, in this calming narration, in this gentle nighttime story. You are hovering in the outer halo, held by nothing, hurried by nothing, surrounded on all sides by the softest darkness that existence can produce, a darkness that is not frightening, not cold in any cruel sense, but simply vast. Vast the way rest is vast when it finally, truly arrives. The stars here in the halo are old ones. They burn with a cooler, quieter light than younger stars. Some of them red and amber, some merely a faint warm glow. The stellar equivalent of a candle burning in a room where everyone has already fallen asleep. They have been burning for so long, these stars, that they have settled into a deep and steady rhythm. Their nuclear processes ticking along with the kind of slow, even regularity that mirrors the breath of a sleeping body. You can let your own breath find that rhythm now, slow and even and deep, in and out, unhurried, matching the quiet pulse of ancient light scattered across the velvet dark all around you. As the halo drifts past in the most relaxing story the universe knows how to tell, as you continue to drift inward through the soft dark of this galaxy, breathing slowly and resting more deeply with every passing moment. The halo begins to thin behind you, like a dream you are gently leaving. The sparse, scattered stars of the outermost regions are becoming, ever so slowly, more present, not crowded, not bright, not busy, but simply a little more frequent. The way familiar shapes begin to appear as your eyes adjust to a darkened room. You are moving deeper into the galaxy now, still tens of thousands of light years from the black hole at its center, and everything around you continues to carry that same quality of ancient, settled stillness that has been your companion since this relaxing story began. It is here, in these middle regions of the old galaxy, that you begin to encounter some of the most quietly beautiful objects that the universe produces, the remnants of stars that have already finished their long, slow lives, and come to rest in the most peaceful ways that physics allows. A star, for most of its existence, is a place of balance. Deep in its core, the pressure of gravity pushing inward is matched almost perfectly by the outward pressure of nuclear fusion. The slow, steady process by which hydrogen atoms are gently pressed together into helium, releasing energy as light and warmth across billions of years. This balance is one of the most enduring things in the universe, and it creates a kind of deep stability, a long middle passage of a star's life that can last for billions of years without dramatic change. When you think about that, a single star burning in steady, quiet equilibrium for longer than the Earth has existed, it produces a feeling not unlike the feeling of deep rest, of something sustained, and even and unhurried beyond all ordinary measure. But eventually, gradually, and without sudden drama for stars of a certain size, that balance softens. The hydrogen at the core runs low, and the star begins a long, slow transition. For stars like the ones scattered through this old galaxy, modest, quiet stars that never blazed with the fierce intensity of younger, more massive ones, the ending is extraordinarily gentle. They expand slowly outward into what is called a red giant, growing vast and cool and luminous in a deep amber light that takes millions of years to fully develop. Then, even more slowly, the outer layers drift away from the star altogether, released into space in a process so gradual it has almost the quality of an exhale. What remains is a soft, glowing shell of gas drifting outward through the interstellar medium, called a planetary nebula, though it has nothing to do with planets. And at its center, a white dwarf, which is the small, incredibly dense, quietly cooling remnant of what the star once was. A white dwarf is one of the most deeply restful objects in all of astrophysics. It produces no new energy through fusion. It simply cools, radiating away the heat it accumulated over its long life, across timescales of billions, and then trillions of years. It does not explode. It does not collapse further. It simply grows cooler and dimmer, generation after generation of darkness, until it fades into what theorists call a black dwarf, a cold, dark, silent sphere drifting alone in space, no longer emitting any light at all. No black dwarf is thought to exist yet in the current universe, because the universe itself is not old enough for any white dwarf to have cooled that completely. But in the far, far future, in a span of time so vast it swallows all of human history, the way the ocean swallows a single raindrop, they will drift through dead galaxies in perfect, absolute silence as you lie here in the gentle dark of your room, letting this deep sleep story carry you further from wakefulness. You can hold that image softly in your mind, a cold, dark star, drifting in silence, cooled to rest across a time span longer than imagination can truly reach. There is something profoundly soothing in that image. Not sad, but peaceful, the way the end of a very long and well-lived day is peaceful, the way the last note of a piece of music is peaceful as it fades into the quiet room. The galaxy around you is full of these white dwarfs, cooling slowly in the dark between the living stars, each one a kind of monument to patience, to the long and unhurried way the universe moves towards stillness. And you, here in this calming narration, in this nighttime story built for falling asleep, are drifting among them, weightless and warm, moving slowly and inevitably toward the deep and silent center where the black hole waits, ancient and undisturbed, the way rest waits, not demanding, not rushing, simply present and ready and endlessly, effortlessly still. You are drifting deeper now, deeper into the galaxy, deeper into this relaxing story, and deeper into the soft and welcoming quiet that is carrying you steadily towards sleep. The stars around you are becoming, ever so imperceptibly, a little more present, not crowded, never busy, but gathered with a subtle sense of orientation, as though everything in this ancient galaxy knows, without urgency, which direction leads to the center. You know it too, in the same wordless way, and you are moving there slowly, carried not by any effort of your own, but by the same patient, invisible force that has been shaping this galaxy for billions of years. This is gravity, and at these distances, it is the gentlest thing imaginable. Less a force and more a quality of the space itself, a soft curvature woven into the fabric of everything around you. And it is here, as you move through this middle region of the galaxy, that you begin to notice something extraordinary happening to the light. Far ahead of you and far to the sides, the faint glimmers of ancient stars are not traveling in perfectly straight lines, the way light travels through empty, undisturbed space. They are curving, barely, subtly, in a way that no human eye could detect without instruments of extraordinary sensitivity, but curving nonetheless, bending gently around the immense gravitational presence of the black hole that still lies tens of thousands of light years ahead. This phenomenon is called gravitational lensing, and it is one of the most beautiful ideas that the science of the universe has ever quietly offered. When mass, any mass, from a pebble to a planet to a galaxy, exists in space, it curves the fabric of spacetime around it, the way a resting hand curves the surface of a soft blanket. Light traveling through that curved spacetime follows the curve rather than cutting straight across it, because in curved spacetime, the curve is the straightest path there is. Near something as massively, serenely immense as the dormant black hole at the center of this galaxy, the curvature is deep and wide and slow sweeping, like the long bend of a great river approaching the sea. And so the light from stars that lie far beyond the black hole, in the universe behind it, curves around its gravity and reaches you from unexpected directions, bent into arcs and rings and soft halos that shimmer in the dark like the memory of light rather than light itself. The most perfect version of this effect produces what physicists call an Einstein ring, a complete circle of light formed when a distant star, a massive gravitational lens, and an observer are aligned so precisely that the lensed light wraps all the way around and arrives as a glowing hoop suspended in the darkness. In this ancient, dormant galaxy, drifting toward its still and silent center, you can imagine such rings forming far ahead of you, faint and luminous, the universe bending its own light into quiet circles the way water bends sound, the way sleep bends thought, softening the edges, rounding the sharp lines, folding everything gradually and gently into a form that is easier and slower and more restful than what it was before. There is a deeply calming quality to the science of gravitational lensing when you hold it slowly in the mind during a nighttime story like this one. It means that what you see is not always where the source truly is, that light takes the long, curved way around something immense and still, and arrives at your eyes, having traveled a path shaped by patience and mass and the quiet geometry of space-time. It is a reminder that the universe does not always take the most direct route, that sometimes the most profound journeys are the curved ones, the slow ones, the ones that take billions of years and trace the shape of something larger than themselves on the way. As you breathe here in the dark of your room, following this calming narration inward toward the center of things, you can feel something of that quality in your own body. The way rest does not arrive in a straight line, but curves toward you gradually, bending around the day's remaining thoughts, softening the last edges of wakefulness, until there is only this, the dark and the drift, and the impossibly slow and beautiful curve of everything moving toward stillness. The black hole is still far ahead, patient, dormant, ancient beyond reckoning, and you are still drifting, weightless and unhurried, through the bending light of a galaxy grown quiet over billions of years. There is nowhere to be but here. There is nothing to do but rest. And the space between you and that deep, still center is filled with nothing but time and silence and the softest, most soothing darkness that the universe knows how to make. You are entering the galactic bulge now, and everything around you is shifting in the most subtle and soothing of ways. Behind you, the vast sparse dark of the halo has softened into the distance, and ahead, still far, still unhurried, still patient in the way that only ancient things can be, the center of the galaxy is beginning to make itself known, not through brightness or noise, but through a gradual, gentle deepening of presence, the way you become aware of a warm room not by any single sensation, but by the slow accumulation of ease spreading through your whole body. You are still drifting at the same slow, cosmic pace, carried by the long, soft inclination of gravity toward the dormant black hole that waits at the heart of all this stillness. And as you drift, you begin to notice, scattered through the space around you, some of the most extraordinarily beautiful structures that the old universe has quietly produced. Dense, spherical gatherings of stars called globular clusters, each one a tightly woven community of hundreds of thousands of ancient suns, all orbiting their common center in a slow and endlessly repeating dance that has been going on for nearly as long as the galaxy itself has existed. A globular cluster, seen from a distance in the darkness of space, looks like a soft smear of warm light, not sharp, not brilliant, but diffuse and gentle, the way candlelight looks through frosted glass. As you drift closer to one of these clusters on your slow inward journey, the individual stars within it begin to resolve out of the glow, each one an old, cool, amber-tinted sun, and the collective warmth of all those hundreds of thousands of ancient lights together produces a radiance so soft and so steady that it feels less like light and more like the visual equivalent of a low, slow hum, the kind of sound or the kind of feeling that exists at the very edge of perception and produces, in whoever notices it, a deep and immediate calm. The stars within these globular clusters are among the oldest objects in the observable universe. Some of them have been burning quietly, steadily, without drama, for 12 billion years or more. To place that number gently beside something familiar, our own sun is roughly 4.5 billion years old, and the Earth itself has existed for only a little less than that. The stars in these clusters were already ancient when our sun first ignited. They were already old when the first grains of dust that would eventually become the Earth were drifting through a young and unsettled solar system. They have been burning through the entire history of everything that has ever lived on our planet. And they are burning still, cooler now, dimmer, but utterly unrushed, the stellar equivalent of a long and peaceful old age. As you drift through the outer edges of the galactic bulge in this deep sleep story, letting these images move through your awareness like slow, warm currents, you can feel something of what that kind of age carries with it. Not weariness, not depletion, but a settled quality, a depth of stillness that comes only from having persisted through an unimaginable span of time without being undone by any of it. The globular clusters carry this quality the way certain very old places on Earth carry it. Ancient forests, deep caves, the beds of rivers that have been flowing since before any human eye observed them. There is a peace in extreme age that is unlike any other kind of peace, because it is not the peace of something that has not yet been disturbed, but the peace of something that has been through everything and arrived, nonetheless, at stillness. The science of these clusters holds one more deeply calming detail that is worth letting drift through your mind as you rest here in your gentle bedtime story. The stars within a globular cluster are so close together, relative to stars in the open galaxy, that from a planet orbiting one of the inner stars, the night sky would never truly be dark. Hundreds of stars would be close enough and bright enough to cast faint shadows, and the sky between them would glow with the collective light of hundreds of thousands of neighboring suns. A permanent, soft, ambient luminosity, as though the night itself were lit from within by something warm and unhurried and endlessly patient. You can let that image rest in your mind now. A sky that is never fully dark, glowing softly from every direction with the ancient, amber light of stars that have been burning since nearly the beginning of time. And then you can let it soften and blur and become simply warmth and simply glow as you sink a little deeper into this calming narration, this nighttime story. You are moving deeper into the bulge now, and the galaxy around you has taken on a quality that is different from anything you have passed through before, denser in feeling, richer in the slow accumulated presence of age, and yet still utterly, profoundly quiet. The stars here are more numerous than in the halo, but they do not feel crowded. They feel gathered, the way the members of a very old and very calm community feel gathered, not pressed together, not competing for space, but simply present with one another across the vast and patient dark. each one tracing its long, slow orbit around the center in a rhythm that has not changed in billions of years. And as you drift through this deep, ancient region in this bedtime story built for falling asleep, you begin to notice something that at first seems like a trick of the faint ambient light. Long, thin, ghostly trails of stars threading their way through the surrounding space, curved like the memory of a path, glowing with the same soft amber warmth as the globular clusters from which they came. These are stellar streams, and they are among the most hauntingly beautiful and quietly melancholy structures that the universe produces. When a globular cluster drifts too close to the gravitational center of its galaxy, the difference in gravitational pull between the cluster's near side and its far side, a force that physicists call tidal force, begins, over an almost incomprehensible span of time, to gently pull the cluster apart. Stars from the near side are drawn fractionally faster toward the center, and stars from the far side lag fractionally behind. And slowly, over billions of years, the cluster stretches and thins and unravels into a long, gossamer ribbon of individual stars that traces the cluster's former orbital path like a wake left in still water long after the vessel that made it has passed out of sight. A stellar stream is, in a sense, the ghost of a globular cluster, all that remains of a community of stars that existed together for billions of years and has now been gently, inevitably drawn apart by the patient mathematics of gravity. And yet, it is not a sad thing to observe. The stars within a stream are not destroyed, not diminished, not lost. They continue to burn, each one tracing its own quiet orbit, simply more spread out now, more solitary, drifting along the same path they have always traveled, but with more space between them and their former neighbors. The stream itself still holds a kind of coherence, a structural memory of the cluster it once was, visible in the way its stars share the same direction and the same orbital energy, even across thousands of light years of separation. You can let that image rest softly in your awareness now, as you breathe slowly and sink further into this calming narration. A long, faint ribbon of ancient stars drifting through the dark, curved along the arc of a billion-year-old orbit, each star still warm, still burning, still moving in the same patient direction it has always moved, simply no longer pressed close against its companions. There is something in that image that carries a deep and specific peace, the peace of things that have been changed by time but not erased by it, that have been spread apart but not diminished, that continue quietly on their path even after the form they once held has dissolved into something looser and more open, and in its own way more beautiful. As you drift among these stellar streams, still moving slowly and without effort toward the dormant black hole ahead, the gravity of that ancient, quiet mass is becoming a more organized presence in the space around you. The orbits of the stars you are drifting among are beginning to show its influence in a very specific way. They are becoming more circular. Far from a massive gravitational center, orbits tend to be elongated, elliptical, carrying their stars on long looping paths that bring them close, and then carry them far in a slow oscillation, but nearer to the center, where the gravitational field is deeper and more symmetric. Those elongated orbits gradually settle and round out, becoming more even, more regular, more like the smooth, continuous circles that represent the most stable and the most restful form of orbital motion that physics produces. A perfectly circular orbit is a kind of equilibrium, a state in which every point on the path requires exactly the same energy, exactly the same velocity, exactly the same relationship with the gravity at the center. It is motion that has found its ideal form, settled into it, and simply continues there without any need for adjustment or correction. And the whole inner region of this galaxy, organized over billions of years by the deep and patient gravity of the dormant black hole at its center, has the quality of something that has found that equilibrium and settled into it completely, so that what remains is not tension, not dynamism, not change, but simply the slow, round, endlessly repeated rhythm of ancient stars tracing their perfect circles in the soft and velvet dark. You are close now, closer than you have been at any point in this long, slow, deeply restful journey. And yet the word close here still means thousands of light years, still means distances so vast that no human vehicle, no human lifetime, no human measure of time could ever bridge them in any ordinary sense. And still you drift, weightless and unhurried, carried by the long, patient pull of something ancient and immense, and completely, absolutely still. The stars around you have thinned again, paradoxically, as you approach the very center, because the black hole's gravity organized over billions of years into something so deep and so settled that it has cleared and sorted and arranged the space immediately around itself into a kind of cosmic anteroom, a hushed and reverent space that exists just outside the boundary of the most extreme physics the universe contains. And it is here, in this innermost region, that you begin to see, or rather to sense, in the way you sense things in the deepest part of a sleep story, not with sharp clarity, but with the soft knowing of a mind that is almost entirely at rest. The remnants of what was once the black hole's accretion disk, long ago, in an earlier era of this galaxy's life, when it was younger and more active, vast rivers of gas and dust spiraled inward toward the black hole along a flattened, rotating structure, the accretion disk, glowing with the friction of infalling matter, blazing with radiation, alive with the most energetic processes the universe is capable of producing. But that was billions of years ago, and this galaxy has long since exhausted the supply of readily available matter near its center. The rivers of gas dried up, the spiral slowed, the blazing light faded degree by degree across millions of years, until what remains now is not a disk at all in any active sense, but simply a memory of one, a faint, diffuse, extraordinarily thin haze of cooled particles arranged in the ghost of a disk shape, drifting in slow, circular orbits around the black hole the way the last traces of fog drift above a lake in the early morning, so thin as to be almost transparent, so still as to be almost indistinguishable from the surrounding dark. There's no heat here worth measuring. There is no radiation blazing outward. There is only the faint arrangement of ancient matter, settled into its final quiet geometry, orbiting the black hole in perfect, slow, eternal circles, as though it has forgotten that it was ever anything other than still. As you drift through this cooled and dormant haze in your gentle bedtime story, breathing slowly and resting more completely than you have all evening, the black hole itself is now close enough that its most extraordinary feature becomes perceptible. Not the event horizon yet, but the region just outside it, where the geometry of space-time produces one of the most astonishing and quietly beautiful phenomena in all of physics. This is the photon sphere, a region located at precisely 1.5 times the radius of the event horizon, where the curvature of space-time is so perfectly balanced that light itself can travel in a complete circle. A photon, a particle of light, entering the photon sphere at exactly the right angle, will curve around the black hole and return to its starting point, orbiting endlessly in a perfect loop, going nowhere, arriving nowhere, simply circling in the deep gravity like a thought that has found a groove in the mind and turns in it through the night. The photon sphere is not stable in a practical sense. Any slight disturbance will send its light spiraling inward or outward. But as a concept, as an image to hold softly in the drifting mind during a relaxing story like this one, it carries an extraordinary peace. Light, the fastest thing in the universe, the thing that travels across the entire observable cosmos in what amounts to a straight, unbroken line. Here, in this place, curves gently into a circle and simply rests in its orbit, going around and around the silent black hole, the way a slow breath goes around and around the body, in and out, and in and out, sustaining something deep and quiet and alive at the center of everything. You can let that image turn slowly in your mind now, like light in the photon sphere, not gripping it, not analyzing it, simply letting it rotate at the edge of your awareness, while the rest of your thoughts grow quieter, and the weight of your body grows heavier, and the distance between you and sleep grows shorter and softer with every slow, even breath you take in the gentle dark. You are at the edge now, not inside, not beyond, but at the most extraordinary threshold that the universe contains, hovering in the deep and velvet stillness just outside the event horizon of this ancient, dormant black hole. And everything around you has taken on a quality that no other place in the observable cosmos can offer. The darkness here is not simply the absence of light. It is something richer, something with texture and depth. A darkness that has been organized by the deepest gravity in this galaxy into a kind of perfect, seamless quiet. The way the silence in a very old and very sacred building is not merely the absence of sound, but a presence in its own right, something accumulated and intentional and held. You are here in this calming narration, in this deep sleep story, breathing slowly at the edge of the most extreme physics the universe knows. And everything you are about to encounter is something that science has confirmed, measured, and described. And yet it feels held gently in the drifting mind of someone almost entirely asleep, less like physics and more like poetry. Time here is different. This is not a metaphor. This is one of the most rigorously tested and thoroughly confirmed predictions of Einstein's general theory of relativity, the phenomenon known as gravitational time dilation, which holds that time itself, the very rate at which moments pass and clocks tick and hearts beat, runs more slowly in a stronger gravitational field near the surface of the Earth. The effect is so small as to be measurable only with the most precise atomic clocks. But here, hovering at the boundary of a black hole's event horizon, the effect is not small at all. Here, time slows so profoundly that a single second experienced by someone at the event horizon would correspond to an almost incomprehensible span of time, passing for an observer far away in open space, years, centuries, eons ticking past in the distant universe, while a single heartbeat completes itself in the deep gravity of this place. Imagine what that means, held softly in your mind as you drift in this nighttime story. The universe aging around you, stars completing their lives, galaxies drifting further apart on the slow expansion of space, billions of years of cosmic history unfolding in the time it takes a single breath to travel slowly from the bottom of your lungs to the top and release itself quietly into the dark. And here at the edge, you are barely moving through time at all. You are, in the most literal and scientifically precise sense, resting outside of time's ordinary current, hovering in the place where the river of moments has slowed to the barest, most imperceptible trickle. There is a concept that physicists sometimes use to describe what a distant observer would see if they watched someone approach a black hole's event horizon. And it is one of the most quietly astonishing ideas in all of science. From far away, the falling observer would appear to slow down as they approached the horizon, their movements growing gradually more languid, their light becoming redder and dimmer as it climbed out of the deepening gravity well, until, at the horizon itself, they would appear to freeze entirely, not disappear, not cross, but simply stop, suspended at the boundary, a still and silent image held at the edge of the event horizon for the rest of the universe's lifetime. The distant observer would never see the crossing happen. They would see only the stillness, the frozen moment, the clock that has run all the way down to zero and simply rests there, neither moving forward nor back, held at the last instant like a breath held at the very top of an inhale that never releases. This is called the frozen star effect. And while the physical reality of what happens to the infalling observer is more nuanced than this image suggests, the image itself, the idea of a clock at the edge of a black hole that has simply, gently, completely stopped, carries in it the deepest and most resonant invitation to rest that the universe has to offer, because what is sleep in the end but the moment when the mind's clock slows so completely that the ordinary passage of time loses its hold, and you slip into a space where moments no longer press against each other in their usual urgent sequence, but simply open and soften and dissolve into the dark warmth of complete and total rest. You are there now, or nearly there, at the frozen edge of your own wakefulness, in the gentle dark of your room, in this bedtime story that has carried you all the way from the outer halo of an ancient galaxy, to the very threshold of the most still and quiet place the universe contains. Let your clock slow. Let your moments soften and spread. Let the last edge of wakefulness dissolve the way the frozen image at the event horizon dissolves into the dark, gently, completely, and without any effort at all. You have drifted back, very gently, and without any sense of loss, to a place of hovering stillness, just far enough from the event horizon that the whole of the black hole is visible ahead of you. And what you see in this deep and velvet dark, in this relaxing story that has carried you so far from the ordinary world of daylight and wakefulness, is not what you might have imagined a black hole to look like. There is no roaring, no violent distortion, no sense of menace or consumption. There is simply a circle of absolute darkness set against the faint and ancient starlight of the surrounding galaxy, perfectly round, perfectly still, its edges defined not by any surface you could touch, but by the geometry of space-time itself, curving so steeply inward that light can no longer find a path that leads away. This is the black hole's shadow, the region of pure, unbroken dark that marks the boundary of no return. And it is, in person, in the hovering quiet of this gentle bedtime story, one of the most profoundly peaceful things the universe contains. The shadow is not truly the event horizon itself, but something slightly larger, the apparent boundary created by the way light rays that pass just outside the event horizon are bent so severely that they spiral inward and never escape. What you see is the accumulated darkness of all the light that came close enough to be captured and never returned. And the effect is a circle of such perfect, deep, seamless black that it seems less like an object and more like an opening, a doorway into an absence so complete that the mind, resting softly in the late stages of this nighttime story, can only respond to it by growing quieter and quieter in turn. Around the edges of this shadow, the faint light of the lensed background stars forms a thin, glowing ring, the Photon ring, where light has curved almost all the way around the black hole before escaping outward, arriving at your position, having traveled the longest, most curved, most patient path that light can travel in the universe. It glows softly. This ring, with the compressed light of an entire galaxy's worth of background stars, bent and gathered and delivered to you by the most extreme curvature in existence, and it outlines the shadow with a luminosity so faint and so even that it looks less like light and more like the idea of light. The memory of illumination traced around the darkest thing there is. And now, in the deepest quiet of this calming narration, there is one more thing to know about this ancient, dormant, perfectly still black hole. Something so small and so slow and so extraordinarily peaceful that it was not discovered by observation, but by pure theoretical thought, worked out by the physicist Stephen Hawking in the quiet of calculation, and confirmed by decades of subsequent mathematics. It is called Hawking radiation, and it is this: even a black hole, even the most complete and sealed gravitational prison that nature can construct, is not entirely silent. At the very boundary of the event horizon, where the quantum nature of space itself becomes relevant, pairs of particles are constantly flickering into existence from the energy of the vacuum. one particle and its antiparticle, born together from nothing in the way that quantum mechanics permits in the open universe. These pairs immediately recombine and vanish. But at the event horizon, occasionally, one particle of the pair falls inward while the other escapes outward. And the escaping particle carries with it a tiny, almost immeasurably small amount of the black hole's energy over time, an almost incomprehensible span of time, far longer than the current age of the universe. This process would cause the black hole to very, very gradually lose mass, evaporating in the most patient and imperceptible way imaginable. For a black hole as massive as this one, the rate of Hawking radiation is so infinitesimally slow that to call it a whisper would be to dramatically overstate it. It is more like the universe's quietest thought, a single particle escaping across an eon, carrying so little energy that no instrument yet devised could detect it. And yet it is there, this whisper, this faintest of all possible sounds in the silence of the cosmos, proof that even the most absolute stillness contains within it the most delicate and patient form of change. You can let that settle into you now, as you rest in the dark of your room, in this gentle bedtime story, at the edge of sleep. The knowledge that even here, at the most extreme threshold of stillness, the universe can produce something incredibly small and incredibly slow and incredibly peaceful continues, quietly, without effort, at the very boundary between everything and nothing. You are still here, hovering in the soft and absolute dark, and there is no urgency to move, no reason to go anywhere, no direction that calls to you more than this one, the direction of stillness, of hovering, of simply remaining in the gentle gravitational presence of something so ancient and so complete that being near it feels, in this deep and restful sleep story, like being near the universe's own version of sleep. The black hole's shadow is ahead of you, perfectly round, perfectly dark, outlined by its faint and patient photon ring. And you are suspended here in the calming narration of this nighttime story, breathing slowly, your body heavy and warm against the surface beneath you, your mind releasing the last loose threads of the day one by one, the way the oldest stars in the halo release their outer layers, slowly, without drama, drifting into the surrounding dark and becoming part of something larger and quieter than themselves. And here, in this hovering stillness, there is one more extraordinary idea that science has placed at the event horizon. An idea so deep and so quietly astonishing that it has occupied some of the greatest minds in theoretical physics for decades, not with anxiety or urgency, but with the slow, patient wonder of people who have found a question so beautiful that the asking of it is its own reward. It concerns what the event horizon does with information. In the ordinary universe, information is never truly lost. When a book burns, the information in its pages does not vanish. It becomes encoded in the precise arrangement of smoke and ash and heat, in principle recoverable if you could track every particle with perfect precision. Physics at its deepest level insists on this, that the universe keeps its accounts, that nothing that has ever happened is ever entirely erased, that the past is always, somewhere, still written. But a black hole poses the most profound challenge to this principle that nature has ever produced. Everything that falls through the event horizon, every particle, every photon, every atom of every star and cloud of gas that this black hole consumed in its active youth billions of years ago, appears from the outside to be simply gone, not encoded in smoke and ash, not traceable in any escaping radiation, but absent, removed, beyond all possible recovery. This tension between the completeness of the black hole and the universe's insistence on preserving information is called the black hole information paradox, and it remains one of the deepest and most beautiful unsolved questions in all of physics. But here is what the mathematics suggests in its most extraordinary and quietly wonderful form: that the information falling into a black hole is not truly lost inside, but is instead encoded on the surface of the event horizon itself, written in the most compressed and abstract possible form across the two-dimensional boundary that separates the black hole's interior from the universe outside. The event horizon in this picture is not simply a point of no return. It is a kind of memory, a vast, spherical, perfectly still surface on which the entire history of everything the black hole has ever absorbed is written in a language so subtle and so abstract that no observer could ever read it directly, but that the mathematics of quantum gravity insists must be there. This idea, connected to a concept called the holographic principle, suggests that the three-dimensional interior of a black hole can be completely described by information encoded on its two-dimensional boundary. The way a hologram encodes a three-dimensional image on a flat surface, holding depth and complexity in a form that appears, to the casual eye, simply flat and still and quiet. You can let that rest in your mind now, as you breathe slowly in the dark of your room, in the deepest passage of this relaxing story. The image of the event horizon ahead of you, not as an ending, not as an absence, but as a surface of extraordinary memory, holding within its perfect stillness the encoded history of billions of years of the universe's unfolding. Every star that ever fell here, every cloud of ancient gas, every photon that curved too close and could not find its way back, all of it still present in the most abstract and the most complete sense, written on the surface of this silent, dark, perfectly round boundary between what is known and what lies beyond knowing. And you, hovering here in this gentle bedtime story, at the edge of your own wakefulness, are resting against a boundary of your own, the soft, warm threshold between the conscious mind and the deep, dark, restorative silence of sleep, where the day's information settles and is held, and the mind releases its grip on the sequence of moments, and something ancient and deep and completely restful rises up to meet you. There is a sound that fills the entire universe. Or rather, there is something that behaves like a sound, that carries information the way a sound carries it, that arrives from every direction simultaneously, and has been traveling without pause since very nearly the beginning of everything. It is not a sound you can hear with ears. It is a form of light, stretched so far by the expansion of space over nearly 14 billion years that it has redshifted all the way down from the brilliant, blazing radiation of the early universe, into the faintest, coolest, most imperceptible microwave glow, present everywhere, arriving equally from every point on the sky, so uniform and so quiet that it registers not as light at all to ordinary perception, but simply as a background, a hum, a presence so evenly distributed that it is essentially indistinguishable from the silence it inhabits. This is the cosmic microwave background radiation, and it is the universe's own fading breath, the last whisper of the moment, nearly 14 billion years ago, when the cosmos was young and hot and dense and blazing, and then expanded and cooled into the vast, dark, ancient space that now holds everything you have ever known and everything you will ever dream. As you hover here in the stillness of this deep sleep story, suspended in the absolute quiet, just outside the event horizon of the dormant black hole, that faint microwave glow is present even here, arriving from all directions with the same patient, even feather-soft warmth, just a few degrees above absolute zero, the coldest possible temperature that the laws of physics permit. It is the universe's baseline, the floor of all thermal experience, the quietest room that existence can provide. And hovering here, in the calming narration of this gentle bedtime story, bathed in that faintest of all possible warmths, you are resting in the most thermally quiet environment that the cosmos contains. The cosmic microwave background is also, in its extraordinary uniformity, one of the deepest confirmations that the universe began in a state of almost perfect smoothness, that the earliest moments of cosmic existence were characterized not by chaos and violence in any ordinary sense, but by an almost incomprehensible evenness, a homogeneity so complete that the tiny variations that seeded all subsequent structure, all galaxies, all stars, all planets, all the slow and patient complexity of everything that followed, were fluctuations so small they are measured in parts per 100,000. From that near-perfect stillness, everything came, and the faint glow you are resting in now is the direct, unbroken remnant of that original quiet, the universe's memory of its own beginning, still traveling, still present, still arriving from every direction with the same soft, even, cooling patience it has carried across all of time. You can breathe that in now, very slowly. The knowledge that the faintest warmth surrounding you in this moment has been traveling since before the earth existed, since before the sun ignited, since before this galaxy had cooled into its current ancient stillness, carrying within it the signature of the universe's first and most profound rest. And this black hole ahead of you, this ancient, dormant, perfectly silent sphere of compressed space-time, has been resting in that same faint glow for billions of years, not consuming, not radiating in any meaningful sense, not doing anything that the ordinary universe would recognize as activity, simply existing in the deep and patient way that only the most massive and the most ancient things can exist. The way a mountain exists, the way the ocean floor exists, the way the very oldest memories exist in the mind during the deepest hours of sleep, present without being active, held without being grasped, simply there, in the dark, in the quiet, in the soft and fading breath of a universe that has been cooling and expanding and growing more still since nearly the very beginning of time. There are places in the universe where the cosmic microwave background is the only light, where no star burns close enough to contribute warmth, where no galaxy is near enough to scatter any glow, where the only photons present are those ancient, traveled, almost cooled messengers from the earliest universe, arriving from all directions in their perfect, patient, uniform quiet. And in those places, and in this place, and in the dark and warm and held space of your own room as you rest in this nighttime story, there is a quality of stillness that is not emptiness, not absence, not lack, but the fullness of a universe that has come a very long way, and cooled a very long way, and expanded into something vast and quiet and ancient, and is now, in every direction and at every scale, in its own long and unhurried way, simply resting. There's a way of thinking about time that the universe itself seems to invite, if you are patient enough and still enough to follow it. A way of stretching the imagination not backward toward the beginning of things, which is where most cosmic wonder tends to look, but forward into the extraordinary depths of what is still to come, into spans of time so vast that the current age of the universe, all 14 billion years of it, becomes something vanishingly small, a brief and almost imperceptible opening chapter in a story whose middle and ending unfold across scales that have no name in ordinary language and no precedent in ordinary experience. You are hovering here in the stillness of this deep sleep story, in the absolute quiet just outside the event horizon of this ancient and dormant black hole. And the universe is very old already. But in the accounting of deep time, it is still, astonishingly, very young. The stars you have drifted past on this long, slow, soothing journey through the galaxy, the cooled white dwarfs, the amber giants, the ancient suns of the globular clusters, will not burn forever over timescales measured not in billions, but in trillions of years. The last stars in the universe will exhaust their fuel and fade, one by one, into darkness. The smallest, most frugal stars, the red dwarfs, which burn so slowly and so coolly that a single one can sustain its quiet nuclear fire for 10 trillion years or more, will be the last to go, flickering out so gradually that no single moment could be identified as their ending, simply growing dimmer and dimmer across unimaginable spans, until they too join the white dwarfs and the black dwarfs and the neutron stars in the cold and lightless dark. This era, the long, slow dying of the last stars, is called the degenerate era by the cosmologists who map the universe's future, and it will last from roughly 1 trillion to 100 trillion years from now. After it ends, the universe will enter what is called the black hole era, a period of cosmic time beginning around 10 to the power of 40 years from now, and extending almost beyond the reach of any concept of duration, during which the dominant large-scale structures remaining in the universe will be black holes, not galaxies blazing with star formation, not nebulae glowing with new light, not the warm, busy, luminous cosmos that produced planets and life and sleeping creatures who listen to bedtime stories in the dark, simply black holes, massive, cold, silent, resting in the expanding dark, the way stones rest at the bottom of a dried riverbed, the last coherent gravitational structures in a universe that has spent all its other energy and cooled all its other light into the background of absolute stillness. This black hole ahead of you, this ancient and dormant and perfectly quiet mass, will still be here. It will have been here through the entire degenerate era, through the fading of the last red dwarf, through the long, slow cooling of every white dwarf in every galaxy, resting, always resting, in exactly this stillness, surrounded by the expanding dark, unchanged in any meaningful way, simply present in the way that the deepest and most massive things remain present long after everything around them has transformed beyond recognition. And in the black hole era, it will not be alone. Other black holes will persist in the dark, the remnants of other galaxies, other gravitational centers, drifting and occasionally merging in the slow, silent, patient way that black holes interact across the unimaginable distances of a universe that has expanded far beyond anything the current cosmos could suggest. There will be no light in any ordinary sense. The cosmic microwave background itself will have redshifted further still, cooling below even its current extraordinary faintness into something even closer to absolute zero. And the universe will be darker and stiller and more uniform than it has ever been, approaching across those incomprehensible timescales, the deepest and most complete rest that physics can conceive. And you can rest in that image now, as you breathe slowly in the warm and held dark of your room, in this gentle nighttime story that has carried you so far and so deep. The image of this black hole resting in the dark of the far future, billions of trillions of years from now, in a universe that has grown quiet in every direction, in a stillness so complete that even the word silence is too small to hold it, simply present, simply resting in the deepest and most ancient and most absolute peace that time and gravity and the slow cooling of everything can produce. You are still here, hovering in the absolute and velvet quiet of this deep sleep story. And the universe has grown so old around you in this meditation on deep time that the stars are all gone now. Every last one of them, even the most patient and frugal red dwarfs that burned for 10 trillion years before finally, gently, quietly releasing the last of their nuclear fire into the dark. The galaxies have dissolved. The stellar streams have dispersed into individual cold, dark remnants, drifting through an expanding void so large that the distances between objects have grown beyond any scale the current universe could suggest. And this black hole, this ancient, dormant, perfectly round, perfectly silent black hole that has been your companion through this entire long and restful journey, is still here, unchanged in its fundamental nature, simply resting in the dark, the way it has rested for longer than any number spoken in ordinary language could convey. But across these extraordinary timescales, even this is not permanent. Even the most massive and most enduring structure in the universe is, very slowly and very quietly, releasing itself back into the nothing from which the quantum vacuum perpetually flickers, the Hawking radiation that in the current universe amounts to less than a whisper. A single particle escaping across an eon, carrying so little energy as to be entirely unmeasurable, becomes, over timescales of 10 to the power of 67 years or more, for a black hole of this size, the dominant process, not because it speeds up in any dramatic sense, but simply because nothing else remains in a universe where all other matter has either fallen into black holes or dispersed into the faintest possible haze of elementary particles. The only process still operating at any meaningful scale is this extraordinarily patient, extraordinarily gentle quantum evaporation. The universe, in its deepest age, slowly and softly releasing the last of its concentrated energy back into the expanding dark, particle by particle, across timescales that dwarf even the black hole era. The way the black hole era dwarfs the current age of the cosmos, there is also, in the deep future, the expected decay of protons themselves, the fundamental building blocks of all ordinary matter, which current physics suggests are not perfectly stable, but will, across timescales of approximately 10 to the power of 34 years or more, simply and quietly cease to be, releasing their constituent energy in the most gentle and imperceptible way, dissolving the last ordinary matter in the universe into lighter particles and faint radiation. When proton decay is complete, the only matter remaining in any coherent form will be the black holes themselves, and the lightest possible remnant particles drifting in isolation through the ever-expanding dark. And then, one by one, across the extraordinary unhurried timescale of Hawking evaporation, even the black holes will soften and release and dissolve, not in any violent or sudden way for most of their existence, but gradually, infinitesimally, patiently, until at the very end, in the final moments of a black hole's evaporation, the remaining mass is so small that the Hawking radiation briefly, for the first time in the entire history of that black hole, becomes perceptible. A last, faint, gentle release of energy into a universe that has otherwise grown entirely still. This final release is called the evaporation endpoint, and it represents the last event of any kind that this black hole will ever produce. A quiet, brief brightening in the absolute dark, lasting only a fraction of a second in cosmic terms, and then gone, leaving behind nothing but the faintest haze of elementary particles dispersing into the void, and the universe more uniform, more still, more perfectly and completely at rest than it has ever been at any prior moment in its entire existence. You can let that image settle into you now in the warmest and most restful way as you breathe slowly in the dark of your room. The image of the universe finally, completely, and in the most patient way imaginable, coming to rest, not with violence, not with drama, not with any of the urgency that fills the waking world, but simply through the slow, inexorable, extraordinarily gentle process of everything releasing, everything cooling, everything dispersing into the soft and even dark, until there is nothing left to distinguish one part of the universe from another, and the whole of existence rests in a stillness so perfect and so complete that it is, in its own quiet and extraordinary way, the deepest sleep that anything has ever known. There's a movement that happens now in this gentle and deeply restful sleep story that is not a movement away from peace, but a movement deeper into it. A slow, soft drawing back from the extraordinary depths of deep time, from the image of a universe finally and completely at rest, from the vast dark of the evaporation endpoint and the perfect stillness of maximum entropy, back through all the layers of this long and soothing journey until you arrive once more at the simplest and most immediate and most quietly miraculous thing in the entire observable universe. The fact of your own breathing body, warm and held and heavy with rest, lying in the dark of your room, alive in the most extraordinary sense of that word, present in a cosmos that is still young enough and warm enough and full enough of light to hold you here in this gentle bedtime story. While the stars still burn, come back very slowly from the deep future. Let the image of the final black hole soften and dissolve the way Hawking radiation itself dissolves, particle by particle, without drama, without haste, each piece of that extraordinary vision releasing itself from your awareness and drifting away into the warm dark behind you until the universe is young again, until the stars are burning again, until the ancient elliptical galaxy is whole around you again with its amber halo stars and its cooling white dwarfs and its long, curved stellar streams threading through the galactic bulge like the memories of communities that loved one another across billions of years. And then let the galaxy soften too. Let the outer halo thin behind you. Let the interstellar medium grow less perceptible. Let the gravitational pull of the black hole become once more the faintest of inclinations, rather than the dominant geometry of your experience, until you are back at the very edge of the galaxy, suspended in the dark between this ancient system and the unimaginable distances of intergalactic space, 30 million light years from the small blue planet where you began. And from there, let the distance simply close, not quickly, not with any urgency, but the way this entire journey has moved, which is slowly and warmly and without any effort on your part at all, simply a gentle return along the same soft current that carried you outward, now carrying you home past the faint smudges of distant galaxies hanging in the intergalactic dark, past the first familiar stars of the Milky Way's outer arms, past the slow spiraling beauty of your own galaxy structure, its star-forming regions, and its open clusters, and its long dusty lanes, all of it drifting past you at the pace of something half remembered and entirely peaceful, back into the inner solar system, where the sun burns with its steady, middle-aged, 4.5 billion year warmth, and the planets move in their patient elliptical orbits, and the Earth hangs in the dark with its thin blue atmospheric halo glowing softly in the sunlight, turning slowly on its axis, the way it has turned for longer than any human story, carrying on its surface, in this very moment, the oceans and the forests, and the mountains, and the sleeping cities, and the quiet rooms where people lie in their beds with their eyes closed and their breathing slow and their bodies heavy with the beautiful, irreplaceable weight of rest, and one of those rooms is yours. Feel it now, the surface beneath you, supporting every part of your body with complete and effortless patience. The weight of your limbs, which have been carrying you through your day and now are simply resting, released from all their duties, sinking into the warmth beneath them, the slow rise and fall of your chest, which has been breathing for you your entire life without ever asking your permission or requiring your attention, simply continuing in and out, the most reliable and the most intimate rhythm you will ever know. The dark behind your closed eyes, which is not the dark of deep space, not the dark of the event horizon, but the warm and personal and completely safe dark of your own rest. A darkness that belongs to you, that holds you, that has been waiting for you all day with the patience of something very old and very kind. You have traveled an extraordinary distance tonight in this deep sleep story, from the outer halo of an ancient galaxy to the edge of the event horizon, from the photon sphere to the cosmic microwave background, from the black hole era to the evaporation endpoint, and all the way back to the simple, warm, irreducible fact of your own body breathing in the dark. And now there is nothing left to do, and nowhere left to go, and nothing left to understand. There is only this, the breath, and the dark, and the held warmth of your resting body, and the sleep that has been waiting for you, patient as gravity, gentle as the oldest light, ready to receive you completely. And so you rest here now, in the warmest and most complete way, in the soft and unhurried dark of your own room, in your own body, in your own breath. And there is nothing more to follow, nothing more to understand, nothing more to hold onto or track or carry forward into the next moment. Because the next moment is already taken care of, already arranged, already waiting for you in the most patient and the most gentle way, the way all the best things wait, without pressure and without condition, simply present and open and ready whenever you arrive. Your breath is slow now, slower than it was when this sleep story began, slower than it was when you first lay down and felt the surface rise up to meet you and the day begin its long, unhurried retreat from your body. Each inhale is a little shallower than the last, a little easier, a little more like something that simply happens rather than something you do. And each exhale is a little longer, a little more complete, a little more like a releasing than a breathing out. As though with every exhale your body is setting down something it no longer needs and will not pick up again until morning. The muscles of your face are soft. The small muscles around your eyes, which have been working all day without your ever noticing them, are completely still now. Your jaw is loose. Your throat is open and easy. Your shoulders have dropped as far as they will go, settled into the surface beneath them, like something that has finally, after a very long time, been allowed to stop holding itself up. Your hands are open, or nearly open, and they are warm, and they are resting, and they require nothing from you, and ask nothing of you, and carry nothing tonight. Your legs are heavy, pleasantly, restfully heavy, the way they feel after a long walk in good air, when the body has spent itself well, and the night has arrived, and the only reasonable thing left to do is exactly this. Feel all of that now, very gently and without effort, simply noticing the way your body has already begun the work of sleep without waiting for your permission, the way it always does, the way it has done every night of your life. This wise and patient body that knows far better than the thinking mind ever could when it is time to stop, and when it is time to rest, and when it is time to let the darkness in and let the day go completely somewhere impossibly far from here. An ancient black hole rests in the dark of a galaxy that has grown quiet over billions of years, its shadow perfectly round, its event horizon holding the encoded memory of everything it has ever known. The faint glow of Hawking radiation rising from its boundary, one particle at a time across timescales, that make the current age of the universe seem like a single drawn breath. It is resting. It has always been resting in the deepest sense of that word, not inactive, not absent, not empty, but settled into itself with the complete and undefended stillness of something that has passed through everything time can offer and arrived at last, at a peace so fundamental that it is indistinguishable from the nature of the space around it. And you are resting too. You are doing, right now, in this warm, dark room, in this quiet, breathing body, exactly what the universe does at its most fundamental and most ancient and most complete. You are releasing and cooling and growing still, and letting the long day's energy disperse into the soft and patient dark, and becoming, moment by moment and breath by breath, more uniform, more even, more at peace with every direction equally, the way the cosmic microwave background is at peace with every direction equally, warm from everywhere, pressured from nowhere, held by everything, and burdened by nothing. Let your thoughts go now, if any remain. Let them drift the way the stars of a stellar stream drift, not lost, not gone, simply spread a little wider, a little further apart, moving in the same quiet direction they have always moved, but with more space between them now, more room, more of the soft dark that is not emptiness, but rest. Let the last edge of the day dissolve. Let the last sound of the waking world grow distant and small and finally, gently, inaudible. You have traveled far tonight. You have rested well. The black hole is resting. The ancient galaxy is resting. The cosmic microwave background is cooling, and the universe is expanding, and the deep future is unfolding with all the patience that deep time contains. And you here now, in the simplest and most extraordinary fact of your own living and breathing and resting, are exactly where you are meant to be, doing exactly what the night was made for, held completely, resting deeply, falling softly and irrevocably into the most natural and the most healing and the most ancient thing that a living body knows how to do. Sleep now. You are safe. You are held. You are home. There is something that happens in the space between one heartbeat and the next that science has only recently begun to describe with any precision. And it is something that you are experiencing right now, in this warm and held and deeply restful moment, without any effort and without any awareness of it happening at all, in the fraction of a second between the end of one heartbeat and the beginning of the next. The heart is not simply waiting. It is in a state of complete muscular relaxation, a brief and recurring interval of total release that the body has been practicing every second of every day of your entire life, building into its most essential rhythm, a moment of rest so regular and so reliable that it has become the architecture of life itself. Your heart knows, in the most literal and biological sense, how to rest between its efforts. It has always known, and tonight, in the slow and deepening quiet of this sleep story, those intervals of rest between the beats are a little longer, a little softer, a little more present to you than they usually are, because the whole of you is moving in the same direction, toward the stillness, toward the release, toward the deep and wordless peace that the body has been waiting all day to return to. The universe, in its own way, has the same rhythm between every particle interaction, between every quantum event, between every photon emitted and absorbed. There are intervals, not of nothing, but of potential, of the quantum vacuum in its state of lowest energy, resting in the way that only something that contains all possibilities can rest, which is completely and without preference, and without the weight of any particular outcome. The vacuum of space, which seems from the outside to be the most empty and featureless thing imaginable, is in the description of quantum field theory a seething, restful ground of pure potential, not active in the way matter is active, not energetic in the way radiation is energetic, but present in the way that the pause between heartbeats is present, holding within its stillness the readiness for everything that will ever happen next. You are made of particles that emerged from that vacuum, that are sustained by that vacuum, that will one day return their energy to that vacuum in the most patient and the most complete way. And right now, in this gentle nighttime story, in this warm, dark room, you are closer to that fundamental restful ground than you are at almost any other moment in your waking life. Sleep is the body's own version of the quantum vacuum state, a condition of lowered energy and maximum potential, in which the noise of active processing gives way to the deep, restorative quiet from which tomorrow's capacity for everything will arise, refreshed and ready and unhurried. As you breathe here, in the final depths of this calming narration, the black hole is still resting at the center of its ancient galaxy, its shadow still perfectly round, its event horizon still holding its encoded silence, the photon rings still glowing with the compressed light of a billion background stars. It has been resting since before the Earth existed. It will still be resting long after the last star in the universe has cooled to dark. And in between those two impossibly distant points in time, in this brief and luminous and extraordinary present moment, you are resting too, here, in your warm room, in your breathing body, in the soft dark behind your closed eyes, where the last images of this long and soothing journey are dissolving now, one by one, like stars at the edge of a globular cluster, drifting slowly into the wider dark, still burning, still warm, simply more spread out now, more diffuse, more like light in general than light in particular, more like rest in general than any specific thing at all. Let the black hole go. Let the galaxy go. Let the halo and the stellar streams and the photon sphere and the frozen clock at the edge of the event horizon all drift away into the warm background of this moment, the way the cosmic microwave background drifts in every direction equally, carrying its ancient warmth to every point in the universe, without distinction or preference or urgency. Let everything you have heard tonight become simply warmth, simply dark, simply the slow and patient sound of your own breathing, which has been here all along. Underneath every word of this story, steady and reliable, and asking nothing of you but this: to rest, to release, to let the night do what the night has always done, which is hold you completely and without condition in the most ancient and the most generous darkness there is. There is a universe inside you that is just as vast and just as quietly extraordinary as the one you have been drifting through tonight. And it is active right now, in this very moment, as you rest in the warm dark of your room with your breathing slow and your body heavy, and your mind releasing its last loose hold on the waking world. It is the universe of your sleeping brain, not the busy, effortful daylight brain that processes and plans and solves and worries, but the deep, restorative, ancient brain that takes over when the lights go down and the body finally completely surrenders to the night and begins the most extraordinary housekeeping operation that biology has ever quietly devised. Right now, if you are in the deeper stages of sleep, your brain is producing what neuroscientists call delta waves, the slowest, largest, most powerful electrical oscillations that the human brain generates, rolling through your neural tissue in long, slow, synchronized waves, the way the deepest ocean swells roll through open water, unhurried and immense, carrying within their slow rhythm the signal of the most profound rest the brain is capable of achieving. Delta waves occur in a stage of sleep called slow wave sleep or deep sleep, and it is here, in this slow electrical tide, that the most essential restorative work of the night takes place: the consolidation of memories from the day's experiences, the repair of cellular damage accumulated during waking hours, the release of growth hormone into the bloodstream, and the clearing of metabolic waste products from the brain tissue itself through a process that only operates fully during sleep, when the spaces between brain cells expand slightly and a slow tide of cerebrospinal fluid washes through them, carrying away the biochemical byproducts of a day's worth of conscious thought. This process, discovered only in recent years and called the glymphatic system, is one of the most beautiful and most quietly important things that happens in a human body. And it is happening in you right now. If you have drifted deep enough into this bedtime story to have crossed into genuine sleep, your brain is, in the most literal sense, washing itself gently, thoroughly, in a slow tide of clear fluid, becoming cleaner and clearer, and more restored with every passing minute of this deep and restful night, preparing itself with extraordinary patience and extraordinary efficiency for the morning that is still hours away, for the day that has not yet begun, for the thoughts and the feelings and the perceptions that will arise, fresh and renewed from a mind that has been tended through the night with the same slow, generous care that the universe tends its oldest and most enduring structures. Not with urgency, not with effort, but with the deep, patient, rhythmic attention of something that has been doing this for a very long time and knows, without any doubt, exactly how it is done. The delta waves rolling through your brain right now in their own small and intimate way, not entirely unlike the gravitational waves that roll through space-time when two massive objects interact across the universe. Ripples in a medium, carrying information, propagating outward from their source in slow and even and perfectly regular oscillations. Shaping the space they move through simply by passing through it. Your brain in deep sleep is a place of waves and tides and slow electrical rhythms, as patterned and as peaceful and as quietly extraordinary as any cosmic structure you have visited tonight in this long and soothing sleep story. And just as the black hole rests at the center of its galaxy, organizing the space around it with its deep and patient gravity, drawing everything into a slow and settled equilibrium over billions of years, your sleeping brain rests at the center of your body's nightly restoration, organizing the chemistry and the tissue and the memory and the energy of the whole living system around it with its slow delta tide, drawing everything toward the deep equilibrium of complete and thorough rest. You do not need to do anything to help this process. You never have. Your brain has known how to sleep since long before you had any conscious awareness of sleeping, since the very first night of your life, when the delta waves began their slow and patient rolling, and the glymphatic tide began its gentle clearing, and the body began the ancient, reliable, extraordinarily well-designed work of restoring itself through the dark. It knows what to do. It is doing it now, and all that is asked of you, all that has ever been asked of you in the deepest and most restful hours of the night, is simply to let it, to stay here in the warm and held dark, breathing slowly, resting completely, while the inner universe tends to itself in the same quiet and unhurried way that the outer universe tends to itself across all its billions of years and all its billions of light years in the most patient and the most generous silence there is. And now, deeper still, past the slow rolling delta tide of dreamless rest, past the glymphatic clearing and the memory consolidation and the growth hormone release and all the quiet, industrious restoration of slow wave sleep, there is another country softer at its borders, stranger in its geography, more luminous in its qualities than the deep sleep you have already traveled through tonight. It is the country of dreams, and you are drifting toward it now the way you drifted toward the black hole at the beginning of this long and soothing journey. Not by effort, not by direction, not by any act of will, but simply by continuing to rest, by continuing to release, by allowing the slow and patient current of the night to carry you from one depth to the next in the most natural and the most unhurried way imaginable. The science of dreaming lives in a stage of sleep called REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, a state so distinct from the rest of the sleep cycle that the brain during REM looks, on an electroencephalogram, almost indistinguishable from a brain that is fully awake. The neurons are firing rapidly. The limbic system, which governs emotion and memory, is highly active. The prefrontal cortex, which governs rational judgment and linear thinking, is quieted, which is why dreams do not follow the rules of ordinary logic, why they move with the strange, associative, image-rich freedom of something that has been released from the ordinary constraints of waking thought and allowed to follow its own deep deep and fluid grammar. During REM sleep, the body's major muscles are gently paralyzed by a signal from the brainstem. Not harmfully, not frighteningly, but protectively and peacefully, a kind of beautiful biological consideration that prevents the sleeping body from acting out the movements of the dream, keeping you still and safe and held, while the mind ranges freely through whatever extraordinary inner landscape the dreaming brain decides to construct from the materials of memory and emotion and pure creative synthesis that only the sleeping mind knows how to combine in quite this way. Dreams are not random noise. Neuroscientists and sleep researchers increasingly understand them as part of the brain's most sophisticated processing. A nightly integration of emotional experience, a rehearsal of social and creative scenarios, a space in which the mind works through the unresolved textures of the day in the most indirect and the most symbolically rich way available to it. The dreaming brain is, in its own quiet and extraordinary way, one of the most creative organs in the known universe, building entire worlds from the inside, populating them with light and feeling and narrative, animating them with the full sensory richness of lived experience, all from within the sealed and silent dark of a sleeping skull, all without a single photon of external light, all from memory and imagination, and the deep, generative, endlessly inventive unconscious mind that has been waiting all day for this, for the quiet, for the dark, for the release of the rational gatekeeper, for the long and open hours of the night in which it can finally, freely, do what it does best. You are at the edge of that country now. You can feel it, perhaps, in the way the darkness behind your eyes has shifted, become slightly more textured, slightly more present, slightly more like a space than like an absence, slightly more like something that could, at any moment, begin to fill with the soft and luminous imagery of a dream arriving from whatever deep and generous place dreams arrive from. Let it come. There is nothing to manage here and nothing to prepare for. The dream will find you the way sleep found you earlier in this long and restful nighttime story. Not through effort, but through release. Not through searching, but through stillness. Not through anything you do, but through everything you allow. And as it comes, as the first soft shapes of the dreaming world begin to form at the edges of your awareness, you can carry with you, if you carry anything at all, the simplest and the most soothing thing this entire journey has offered, that you are resting in a universe that has been practicing rest for nearly 14 billion years, that the silence around you is ancient and earned and generous, that the dark is safe and the night is long, and the morning, when it comes, will come gently and without urgency and will find you restored. Sleep deeply now. Dream softly. The black hole rests. The ancient stars rest. The cosmic microwave background drifts in every direction with its patient, even fading warmth. And you here now, breathing slowly in the most ordinary and the most extraordinary room in the universe, which is the room where you are resting tonight. You rest too, completely, deeply, held by the night and by the dark and by the slow, unhurried, endlessly patient turning of the world beneath you. This is your sleep story, and it is complete. Good night.